Hey, welcome to Tactical Tuesday. This is the starter kit forum or essential group of guys that gets together, analyzes game plans, analyzes players' plans, analyzes the rules on how they apply to the game plans, and then we also field questions, and then we also look at game of the months. Everyone plays game of the month. We take them all, we go over all the games, and we learn from each other. That's what Tactical Tuesday is all about. Learning from each other, learning from the games, and applying what rules we know. It's application of the rules. None of this is going to be in the rule book. All the rules are simply in your rule book. Highlight them and go on with this. What we're not about is teaching the basics of starter kit. We're not going to teach you what range is. We're not going to teach you what your morale level number might be. We're not going to teach you how to use Vassal. None of that is the realm of Tactical Tuesday. That's what you should know already as a player. If you don't know any of that stuff, please read the rulebook. It's quite explanatory. Tactical Tuesday is for even beginner players that may or may not have played other people, but here to decipher and answer questions they might have about the rulebook, about what they've read. So that's what we're all about, taking your game to the next level after you've done your homework, and then hopefully you'll enjoy your SK games much more. Thanks, and let's get on with Tactical Tuesday. All right, with that being said, let's get on with Game of the Month. We're looking at Legio, Patria, Nostra. I felt that these games were really strong, really powerful with the players involved. A lot of players, you know, it's the same drag, knockdown, drag out fight in here. We're going to tear it down a little bit. I got to be honest with you, didn't see a lot of errors. I think you'll see a lot of really good play involved in here, a lot of key concepts. But just note, one thing to note in most of these scenarios, you know, if you have the same game where guys are just pounding each other, it's the little things that allows you to win the game. Little things that allows you to win the game. And you'll see some of these in the games. Whether it be routing, moving, firing, target selection, whatever. Setup. The little things win the games, not the overall picture. You know, the dice are going to be what they are. So, with that being said, let's go on to our first two games out of like 6 or so. So, we're going to pound 2 out here. Hopefully, we'll get more next week. Thanks for watching, guys. Let's get it going. So, I reviewed technically 5 files. And we'll review some. It looked like some more coming in. So, I don't want to have to rush through 8 files in one session. So what we'll do is we'll go with what the players are here first initially. So we've got, let me see, I don't even know whose game this is that I loaded. Let me just load it. Let me just load another game. What I do want to say, gentlemen, is out of the games I reviewed, for the most part, they looked very, very good in terms of smoothness from what I can perceive from the dice rolls, from the modifiers that should have been applied, things like that. The routing, I think I saw you guys discussing routing selections. Of course, there's always routing errors in most games, but we'll go over that. In this particular, well, there's 2 scenario special rules that we're going over in this one here that makes a huge impact on routing and the French assault. So which scenario special rules are those, guys? Does anyone have a scenario card in front of them?
No smoke.
No smoke. Huge in this one.
Yeah.
Next one, in terms of movement.
He has to add 1 MF going up and down a hill if he's not on a road, representing the wet terrain.
So what does that do to your routing? What does that do to your routing? Let's say
often it makes it extremely expensive to kind of climb up a hill to get into a building.
Right.
So it can often force you to stay down in the valley to a certain extent.
So let's look at K4. If you guys can, is everyone synced into the game? If you might want to resync, yes. I think I have another game going. I'm not sure why these things have prep fires on them. This might be a late game start. So if everyone can resync to me, because I loaded like 15 different times, we'll take a look at K4 and tell me. And let's say you could route in any direction you want. Okay, no enemies are on the board, but you're gonna route, and you're gonna choose a direction. where does K4 go if a unit is broken there?
Goes to J3.
J3. Can he go to L4 or K5?
No, because it costs three. It costs three to go down.
Correct. And although that can be missed during this particular game, that's an important distinction. It's really easily to do. Like when you play ASL, there's a lot of snow, ground snow, and bullshit like that. When you go up and down, it's pretty much the same rule. So you just have to remember that the +1 movement factor goes up. Because that's a scenario special rule, and I would take it out of the notes, because the notes, first of all, I hate these note sections. They're almost unreadable. But what I would do on the notes section, I would read through the notes, find out a note that's very important that you know you're going to forget, right? You don't need to know the victory conditions between the dash lines. I mean, once you just kind of know. I mean, a lot of guys put V's on them, which is absolutely fantastic. The German guns, you don't need to really worry about that. Assault fire capability would be one of them. Normal capture, capture uses might be another one. But the rain and the extra MF, because that is such an odd rule, right? I would probably put that in its own label, right? And then stick it right on the goddamn board, like over here on the left-hand side, or behind the hill. I would just make a box. This is what I would do, simply because it's easy to forget, and I would choose a different label. And just as simple as that. I would probably maybe right in the top middle. Of course, the no background will be gone, right? And I'd probably put that in a white box. They have different light, just MF +1 up or down, so it's always in your face, right? On the notes, you're never going to scroll down and look at the notes. You're going to read through them, say, okay, I'll try to remember them. Boom, go up. You know, you'll play a couple hours, a couple turns. Next week, you'll play, finish the game. You're probably not going to reread the notes. But I would make a little label here, so you can remember what it is. Put it in a white box. If you put it in a white box and put it over here, it kind of pops off the map, or you could put it up on the top. It doesn't really matter. Wherever it's convenient for you, that's what I would do, because stuff like that is easy to forget. If you saw my cavalry scenario, the FT100, I literally had a box essentially summarizing most of the cavalry rules that I just simply couldn't remember, like right off the top of my head. The special bullshit that goes along with cavalry. And so I'm going to move this prep fire thing like over here. This is very useful. When you guys are, I'm very bad at using the dial thing. First of all, when I do my games, I have my own little thing set up. But I'm very bad at using this. You guys' use of this makes it so much easier for me to follow during the game, and for anyone else that might be watching. So I appreciate you guys using that and the discipline that it takes to use that dial. I do not have that discipline, simply because I'm just used to burning through phases, you know, left and right. I'm worried about this instead of turning a dial. So I appreciate you guys using that dial, even if you're off just a, you know, couple. I mean, you guys are, you'll pop it right there, and you guys are very good at it. I'm usually like 3 phases behind. If any of you guys were behind, it may have been like you moved a guy and then somebody remembered and they moved to the movement phase, but that usually isn't the problem. So I, as a reviewer, appreciate that 400%. You don't realize how important that is when I'm trying to decipher what the hell's going on and what phase it is, because sometimes you'll see, you know, I'll see like final fire on the French, and then I'll see final fire counters on the German. It's like, what the hell's going on here? It can't be both final fire. So when that thing shows an allied size defensive fire phase, I know exactly what the hell turn it is. You know what I'm saying? I know who's moving and who. So again, that's very simple, very subtle, but it takes discipline to use that. I simply lack that skill right now. So let me get rid of these labels. In all honesty, I can't.
Some people go the low-tech route, and I just stick a Post-it note to the bezel of my monitor.
Oh, there you go. Absolutely, that's a good idea. Yeah, because if you write it down, you're more likely to remember it anyway. And typing it's kind of one thing. So it looks like this one. I think this one. Oh my God, I forgot whose game this was. So anyway, the dice will start coming up. I don't care, Microsoft. So anyway, the dice will start coming up. But anyway, I just want to say again, I thoroughly enjoyed watching these games. I didn't take it. The reason why is because guess what? I really don't have a lot of notes on them, so that tells you how kind of clean the games were. To be honest with you, gentlemen, it's just the games just. I mean, obviously, I don't know. It's just a cleaner game. You're tight. You're in tight fighting and things like that. The errors were very minimal, and so if you guys want to jump in, just in terms of plans. So now I have a question for you, gentlemen, and this came up in Tony's game that he essentially just posted. I mean, he just posted it. I uploaded it. I reviewed it. And one thing I want to just kind of ask you guys, most of you guys have played this game. How did you set up? If you look at the scenario card, who sets up first?
French do.
The French do. And then the Germans set up after that. How did you execute your French setup? That seems like a stupid question. So did you just set up the 9-2? And then the other guys after the Germans set up? Or did you set up all your units and then the Germans set up?
Well, you're supposed to. I mean, according to the card, you're supposed to just set up the 9-2, the 248, and the captured machine gun first.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Then the German sets up his forces, and then the Free French set up their remaining forces.
Is that what it says on the card? On the scenario special rule?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it says elements of 3rd Company, 1st Battalion. I'm sorry, I'm translating French for you guys. From the Foreign Legion, 1st Division sets up first in building P9 or 06. Then elements of Grenadier Regiment 67 set up second on or north of Pectoral S.
Okay.
And 2nd Company sets up last. So the remaining, the primary bulk of the attack force sets up last.
Yeah, I looked at the scenario card last night, and I must have skipped over that. All I saw was Free French set up first and move first. That's all I saw. So, given that, knowing that you have to do that, if the Free French set up everybody, like if you did what I did and just set up all the Free French, then the German can set up in response to the Free French's setup, and it would actually change the tempo of the game, sort of thing.
Oh, so, yeah, it would, yeah.
So it would make a big difference, and so I'm glad I saw that game that Tony just posted, because he had his guy in the middle, and then the French set up, and then he set up his other counters through their log. So I appreciate them showing the log of their setup, which actually clarified that to me, because I just was kind of skimming the card to see who sets up first, because I didn't know, and simply because I was looking for that sort of thing. So first of all, does anyone have any questions about anything before we get started? Anything you got that came up before or during the scenario,
I do have a question. Can you guys hear me? Sorry, I'm kind of Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm typing up my after action report actually. So okay. So I did have a question. So do you mind if I just move a counter just for the moment?
Clone a counter. Clone them and then throw them somewhere else.
All right, I'll clone them. All right.
Just because the replay thing's been screwed up the last couple.
Okay.
Months.
All right. So let's say you are here. You decide to go to the X. Okay.
Okay.
And you go 1 to here.
Right.
And then you decide you want to climb up here to get to this building.
Right.
Okay. Is that 5 MP or 5 MF or 6 MF?
What? The plus one is in a. I know what you're asking. The plus one is usually it's an extra.
Right, because usually it costs you 2 to enter a building. To climb the hill, it's doubled.
Right.
Okay. So the question is do you add the 1 to the enter of the building, so it's now 3 doubled to 6?
Right.
Or is it 2 doubled to 4 and then you add 1?
It would be an extra MF. It would not be doubled. Otherwise, it would just say 2 MF, in my opinion.
Right. I just couldn't. It didn't seem to be the way it was written. I don't know. It's always been kind of a confusing point. It seems to be a confusing point when I read the ASL rule book. It's like when do you just add the +1 and then double, or when do you double and then add the +1? You know, it seems. I don't know.
Right.
I can't
Smoke is like
explain
that too.
We played it. We played it as 5.
Right.
Right.
That's how I played it too, and that seems to be how
Yeah.
everybody's playing it. But I wish I could kind of find a find a solid rule example that's in the rules that say this is exactly what they mean when they say add this. But I just, as long as everybody played it as 5, then obviously there's nothing.
Right. That's what I understand. Because like again, smoke will be a lot of things that will increase the rates for that.
Right.
And,
okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure that everybody that I basically we all came to the same conclusion and decided that was 5. Yep. Okay. All right.
Right. Okay.
I'm
Cool.
gonna go ahead and delete this. And
That's a good question, though.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Hey,
because,
Stu.
Yeah.
It's Ed here. Thanks for putting this together. It's my first time out here, so thanks a lot.
Oh,
Quick,
sweet.
stupid, dumb line of sight question. For some reason, I can never get in my head line of sight from a hex like K8 past M8, like into N8 or O8. I think it's blocked, but again, the presence of a first level stone building on K8 plays havoc with my head. I wondered if you could just go through it real quick.
So, like, if you had a unit in K8 here,
Yeah.
and you wanted to look at O8,
Right.
is that correct? Yes. That's not possible in starter kit.
Okay. Yeah, because there's no blind hexes.
Yeah, there are no. You can't. You can only look over. You can't look past and down.
Okay.
If you're
That's what I
level 1,
wanted.
you can only look at level 1, and that's it. And then anything
presence-
like in front of you. All these essentially,
presence of-
you treat them like
and
they're essentially like you're on ground level. They'll block.
Right, and the presence of the building on K8 makes no difference to that conclusion.
Correct. It doesn't matter what terrain you're in when you're drawing LOS for like 99.9% of the time.
correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
And right, and also something that is a difference between the starter kit and the ASL map. So if you're starting K8 and you want to fire at P8, okay, that would normally cross the building in M8,
Right.
okay, and in ASL that line of sight would be blocked, okay, because that building in M8 is actually a 1.5 level obstacle.
Right.
So often what you'll see is, I think if you draw the line of sight, it uses the ASL rules and will say that line of sight is blocked, actually.
Right.
Correct.
But
Yeah.
playing starter kit, it's not. Okay, because you can see over the building, because all buildings are basically level 1
Yes.
in ASL SK. So that's something that if people are playing, playing SK scenarios on maps like this, sometimes it'll say a line of sight is blocked when in SK it is in fact not blocked. So
Right.
I just want to bring that up.
And
But it is
that's another primary reason why you don't rely on the LOS thread telling you what's blocked and what's not blocked, simply
Right.
because it doesn't distinguish between game types. It's really funny. Yeah, it's just kind of funny that way. And yeah, those buildings are special because of 1.5. A lot of ASLers don't understand that will block line of sight between them, and that's just kind of tricky sometimes because most of the time it doesn't apply, but it's okay. It's not a big deal. But yeah, that's the key distinction.
Yeah, but as I said, that is because I do notice that when you're playing, when you, especially like this scenario or with hills in SK, it'll use the ASL line of sight rules, and so sometimes it'll say something's blocked when it isn't in SK. So just want to bring that up to everybody's attention.
Right. So
Well,
this
I'm sure we've all noticed it, but hey, might as well put it in.
Okay. Right, I'm just looking at my notes for the first game here. So I believe this game is between Craig and Dave. So let's just fast forward here. It looked like to me that the Free French, I'm just calling them Brits. The Brits are just assault moving, and then because they're only moving 1 hex, I can only assume they're assault moving. That wise, they can minimize damage, and that's not a bad thing to do because there's a lot of Germans on the bottom part that can fire. You don't want to take. I'm not sure why the LMG's below them. But you don't want to take a lot of damage initially, and especially if he's going against I'm going to call it a fortress on the bottom, the 3 hex building on the bottom. Down there, you need as much firepower as possible, and as many units can make it there, the better. If you don't want to give, if you don't have to give him a -2, don't give him a -2, and that's the theme. You'll see a couple instances in these scenarios where there's a couple times where order of a movement makes a distinction. And there's a couple of examples where, remember what I was saying before, Mark, in our game of how do you minimize your losses and things like that, or if you're way behind, you know, how do you minimize just getting pounded? And one of the comments I made is not to give the guy a free shot.
Right.
If you can't generate enough firepower, and for the most part, that will come into play with the mortar, because like 99.9% of you guys put the mortar down here, and you've moved them into the building here first, and most of your other guys have just moved on, and the mortar's just moving there for, you know, to set up an attack later on, and so on and so forth, right? So moving there, his advanced fire shot's going to be a 2+3. It's essentially nothing. And so, and that's the weakest terrain that the Germans can fire back at him. So that's actually a decent shot, especially since it's a mortar with a high rate of fire. If he gets a crit, stuff's blowing up. You know, John, a couple of you guys rolled like a shitload of snake eyes in your games. It was just a massacre. You know, it was just a massacre. Damn, man, I was just I was like shell shocked and like traumatized after those games. But yeah, so I'll bring that up, but I just want to throw that in your mind. This is another one of those things. Yes, he has 8 morale. Yes, he might have other targets to look at, but since you can't fire the mortar, you can't fire the medium when you're moving, and if you're going to be alone, if you're not going to be joining up in a giant fire group, consider different actions. It may not make a difference anyway, but we could look at those instances during the game, and honestly, I don't think any of them made a difference, but it's just something to think about. It's one of those little things, one of those 1 percentage point things that pop in your mind, say, oh, if I did this, then I would have done, you know, it could have given me the opportunity to do that. Matter of fact, one of the scenarios of the Dead of Winter, they messed up whether a guy was going to be pinned. I think, Mark, you saw that one. Because they messed up the guy pinning, what happened in that particular game is it disallowed those units to jump the enemy in close combat. And because that was a miscue on both players' part, that you want to make sure the little things is what caused you the loss, not the big things. What happened in that particular game was they eventually killed the unit they jumped into close combat, but it caused a casualty reduction upon his units. Now, if they had played it cleanly, I'm not saying it's neither here nor there, but it's just something that you guys want to pay attention to make sure, oh, is that the right modifier? You know, don't rush through the modifiers. Just take your time, making sure. You'll see a difference. It may happen in this game, but make sure that happens. Essentially what happened was, since they had that little error, literally on turn one, they had a difference between a pin and a non-pin. That made the difference in the game, because he needed one more half squad off, which he failed to get because it died on turn 1, and they got him off on turn 5. It made the entire difference in the game. So the little things is what adds up. So anyway, we'll go with that. So again, if you guys have any comments or questions, you see something weird happen, just stop me and let me know, and we'll go over it. And then just say any questions you guys have. Say, hey, why do you attack there? Or we could kind of decipher. So again, this is Craig and Dave's game. Dave Cheever. Dave Cheever is the German, I believe. So I'm just going to kind of fire through here. So looking at the Germans' defense, this is one thing I like about his particular setup. The Germans, mind you. After reviewing the games, obviously the fortified building's tough to crack. All you guys know that. I don't even know if the fortified building was ever lost. I like the idea of putting units up here to move on the building. What issue do we have in this unit here moving up into this building on turn 1? Do you guys, what issue do we have to overcome?
He's gonna CX.
He's got a CX. And what do we have in this hex here? We have a 9-2 leader. It's going to be a -3 in close combat against you. I don't care what odds you're looking at. A 1 to 8 -3, a 3 will kill you. So you really don't want to go against a -2 leader with your CX. So Do you want to risk a leader there to jump up there and go over here? I would probably only do that if I had 2 units. If this was his main strategy, is to take that fortified building, which I think can be done. I think it can be done, but it's risky. It's very risky. But if you can get it, guess what? Now, first of all, if you get it, you're in a fortified building, right? It's going to be a bitch to get out of because you guys play this game and you know how hard it is to get guys out of that fortified building. If you take it, and there's only a half squad, although there's a -2 leaders, there's a half squad. So if you CR somebody's paying the piper. And the Germans may or may not have enough units based on because the French respond to the German setup. So it can be very tricky. You'd have to really look at it. But I do like the idea. Him wanting to come up here. The CX is just a problem that you kind of have to deal with. It's kind of rough. Essentially, if you can get both units in there, because this unit won't be CX'd if he assault moved in advanced phase, that would be fine. But 1 unit with CX in there would be coming back attacking would be a 1-to-1 +1. So he would need a 4 for casualty reduction. On the backside, it's going to be a 1-to-2 -3. He would need a 7 for a casualty reduction. So you see the big difference there. Even though he has more firepower, the Brits need a 7 for a CR against the CX unit, and the one singular German unit needs a 4 for a CR. So it's a huge difference in the swing. It might occupy him, but it's I would think that if you want to take this, you might want to risk more units. Even if you get in here and the Brits really come up on you, you're still in a +4 building. So even if you're CX. But anyway, I did like the idea of him wanting to try and get that. Not a problem. You know, that's his plan. We'll see how that works out there. But anyway, let me blow through this. So his AA gun comes out quick. Not sure what. Oh, he fired on the guys in the center because that's his only target, right? Advance fire here, and then they advance up. I love the spread out on the bottom. Nobody's stacked. Even the 8-1 leaders in the back, so he could rally units fast. Not a problem because the fire group at this point, the leader, the -1, you want to use for the rally purposes, unless you have some sort of kill stack, which you probably don't need in this one, to be honest with you. The -1s to get your troops keep moving, because all you guys know this is a bloodbath. So we got the typical skulking, which is good, so it avoids the firepower. Not a problem. We unfortunately got a break here, and Dave rolled a 12, so that guy is over and out. And then we got a couple final fires. Nothing to worry about there. This guy has to route. Talk to me about this route here. He's in P4.
He's going to 03.
What's his destination?
Oh, is he in P4 or P3?
He's in P4. He got broke in P4. He rolled that 12 in P4, so he got jacked up in P4. He's not going to rally any year because he's only at 4 morale. Where is his destination at this location? Is it Q4 or is it 03 P2?
Probably can't be Q4 because chances are he can see the unit in S1, so he can't get closer to it.
S1. They check the LOS as well. What about this guy over here? The 9-1.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's obvious then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's but it's hard to see because he's on a hill. You can't see the terrain. This is easily overlooked. They could have easily routed there just because you can't really see that location there. So he's kind of screwed. 4 morale unit after he rolled a 12, he's pretty much done, gonzo. And at this point here, you say, hey, would you route the whole way? There's no way you take an interdiction with a 4 morale check. You just throw the guy there and either make somebody fire at him or whatever. He just becomes essentially a carnival target at that point. He's not going to rally anytime soon. So the skulkers come back in their locations, and we jump into close combat there. So, and another good thing about this, another good thing about the Germans trying to do this sort of, first of all, they're pinned, so that helps them tremendously, right?
Well, it helps them some, right? Because well, the leaders, if the leader's pinned, the leader can't use his leadership modifier in close combat?
Correct. So how much firepower do they have?
Well, they got 1 on the attack, 2 on the defense.
Yeah, they got 1.5. Add the half. You got to add the half. 1.5 on the attack, because sometimes it makes it matter. Like if you had like the Chinese squads, you'll see 3 firepower, so that's a 1 to 2. Right. Makes a big difference. So yeah, this is the best combination the Germans can get. If he should happen to get lucky and kill this, guess what he gets back? He gets that medium machine gun back. Yeah. So that's a huge that's another huge bonus, another huge risk that if the Germans can get guys up here, they could actually essentially add another squad to their firepower. And if you had the squad and the medium right there, that center buildings is pretty tough. That's going to be 16 firepower point blank. But anyway, again, I like the move. I don't think there's an ambush there. Hopefully they remembered. Dave rolled a 4, which would be that is an ambush. Nope, that should not be an ambush, because the 4 plus 1 for the CX, but the Craig rolls a 2, but he adds 1 because he's pinned. So pretty sure that's a +1 on the pin. It's been a while. Pin.
Yeah, pin adds 1. Pin adds. Well, he has to add 1, subtract 1, right? Because the other units, because of the CX.
Right.
Or is ambush? It's not.
Yeah. He doesn't get penalized on the ambush. He gets penalized on the ambush. The other guy doesn't get an advantage for that.
Yep.
So luckily there's no ambush on there, and I don't think they kill each other on that one. But I do like the move. That was his best chance to get in there, especially with the pin. And we've got the mortar going in his prep fire phase, and rushing up on the hill, CXing up on the hill. Good move. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. On here on the hill. Again, I'm not sure if he's going to go here or whatever, but I'm assuming he moved up on the hill to avoid that -2 shot, maybe from over here. Yeah, he did get shot at over here. So again, take into account that you have 8 morale, and I know a lot of you guys got hammered a couple times. I saw a lot of 2s and 3s when you guys got in the open ground, unfortunately. So there you go. So he baited the shot over here, so he took the first fire shots. This guy here is closer now to this unit, right? Do you see what Craig did? Okay, so he moved this unit here. He got fired on by one of these guys. So now this guy can only fire at a closer unit, which would be R8. Then we've got I assume the leader fired over here as well. And so he's first fired, but he could still fire up on the hill, right? Because he can't see these guys. At least I don't think he can see them. Yeah, that's a pretty tight spot. I don't think there's a lot of... So guess what? Craig moves the guy here. Now he can see somebody closer. Now we could at least move somebody up on Q5. I think he goes the whole way to P5. Now he can subsequent first fire on this guy, but at least that doesn't do like both hexes. So I guess he doesn't... I don't know. I don't think he... I don't see a final fire there.
Well, he did eventually change it to final fire, so maybe he just didn't get anything.
Yeah, maybe he didn't get anything. But do you see how this unit here, Q6, saves this fire from the 9-1? This here, the order of movement, if you moved your 9-1 up here first, he's definitely going to take that shot. But if you simply move the other guy, even though he's CX, he's not going to be able to affect anybody in a stone building with his firepower. And he's just not. His purpose is to stop him from firing on the 9-1 move up the hill. He is completely protected going up the hill, unless some sort of wonky ass, 75mm shoots him from somewhere angle. But order of movement is important. If he had moved the leader first, he would have got shot, and then this guy still would have CX'd here and actually did nothing. This is huge. This is a huge move right here. It doesn't look huge, but it's huge for this guy's safety. And you need a leader up there just to rally some of these units, because your 9-2 is in close combat, and he actually may be dead at the end of the turn. We don't even know. And so the 75 rears its ugly head. I'm not sure why it was rotating. It should actually just be in that direction anyway, but anyway. So he rolls a 9, he just pops up. I like the 8-1 moving last. all the fire goes first, and then he just shows up. Essentially, he's like the medic at that point. I'm not sure what those final fires were, but we're still in melee there. It looks to me that they must have fired upon it in close combat. A couple guys are pinned in there. The leader looks to me like the leader's pinned again. I'm not sure if that's actual or not.
Yeah, leader and squad. Yeah, leader and squad are pinned, and the Free French Half Squad isn't.
Right. Yep. And so they jump into close stack. They toss a 4-5-8. Oops. Oh, I screwed that up. Sorry about that. Jump 4-5-8 in close combat. Everyone else just surrounds him, and they vaporize him. So, unfortunately, Dave rolls a 9 on the ensuing close combat. Good idea by Dave trying to take that 9-2 out. If he did that, it would help his side, even if he sacrifices a squad for it. No problem. No criticism at all on that move, because it could have paid off extremely well. Imagine if he killed him on that turn when he had the pin, and he wasn't CX, then he'd have a 16 firepower. Do you think these guys are going to be in that location? Probably not. Probably not. You know, unless there's like 3 broken guys, it's just not going to happen. That will give him such a strong position. So some guys are moving here, and final fire there. Oh, here we go. This is one thing you want to make sure. Look what happens to the stack here. Okay, we've got. Let me clear this off. We got the 75 firing. You want to make sure you get all your modifiers correct, because this can make a difference. I'm not sure if it made a difference in this game, but look what happens here. 75 fires. What does the 75 need to hit this location with no acquisition? What does it need to hit?
7. Probably needs a 7 plus 4.
Base 7 plus 4 needs a 3 to hit. Would you agree? Or does everyone agree that he needs a 3 to hit that with no acquisition? Yes or no? If you think he needs something else, let us know, because we might be missing something.
I thought it was a 4. It's base an 8, right? Base is an 8.
Well, base is a 7 because he's 7 hexes out.
Right.
Oh, he's 7 hexes out. Okay.
Yeah, not the 6 hex range. So yeah, that's the kicker. It's just at 7 hexes, and so that's what I saw too. It's like, wait a minute, it's a 4. He's at a 4 or 5 building. That's impossible to hit. And then I checked the range, and when you get hit, it's the same sort of adage. When your opponent rolls a snake eyes, what's the first thing you do, John? Hopefully he's not sleeping. What's the first thing you do, guys, when your opponent rolls a snake eyes on you?
Make sure he gets the final fire marker.
Yep, you pull the final fire marker and put it on his guy. That's the first thing you do, because you'll forget. Because everyone's the rate of fire, and everyone's dying and things like that, and your 10-3 just went up in a blaze of glory. Put that final fire marker on him. It's huge. In this case, that's a critical shot on a giant stack of units that's central to your attack or central to your defense. Make sure you get the number right. So he rolls a 4 to hit, and then his which would have been a miss, but his infantry fire table isn't impressive, right? Look at that. Look if he rolls an 8, but if he rolls an 8 on the 12, that's a 1 morale check. Well, guess what happens? You start pulling mark, and you got an 11, an 8, and a 10, and guess what? All those guys vaporize. You know, they all break. Yeah, whereas it would have simply just been a miss. So the little things like that, don't rush through it. You know that he's there. You know that he fires. Double check. If he rolls a hit, say, oh, that's a hit. Because you know it's a fortified building. Whether they forgot the +1 for fortified building, I don't know. But it's likely. It's likely they forgot the fortified building. But, I mean, there's a big...
It's also possible, as I said, that they just thought it was 6 hexes. Everybody says, you need an 8.
Right. All right. And so either way, yeah, absolutely. Either way, I would understand that more than the fortified building, simply because there's a giant counter on the map, which says +1 TEM. So, but anyway, important to make sure those modifiers are correct, because this can make or break a game. This can win or lose you the game simply on that little error. Just like the example that I gave in the beginning, where they made a simple error where a guy was pinned when he shouldn't have been pinned, that lost the gentleman the game. assuming nothing else changed, because that unit wouldn't have been casualty reduced. This 9-2, matter of fact, I found a mistake in one of my games that I was watching today. One of my MMGs wouldn't have been broken, and he was stacked with a -2 leader, and that means I would have doubled my firepower. Instead of a two even shot trying to attack concealed units, I would have had a 4 even shot, which is a lot better, a lot easier to hit. I 7, 7 strips his concealment instead of a 6. It makes a difference in the number of rolls you're making, gentlemen. Just please, just double check your chart. Say, hey, is that a hit? Let me check. Well, you got this. Okay, boom. And if you miss it, then who cares? Just do your due diligence. If it's a half squad, if it's a broken half squad in the back and whatever, it's like, it's possible, but So we're gonna do looks like maybe a little skulking here. So a lot of fauna fire. We got a DM unit up top. Wow, looks like he failed ELR as well. He routes back to this location there. Again, can he route to that location? Can P9 go to O9? You get the leader there. Let's say, I don't want you guys to get blinded by the leader. Say, oh, there's my leader, I'm gonna route right to him. Can this unit route to this location?
Hold on a second.
What?
Probably. Well,
you can check LOS. There you go. Is that blocked?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah. All right. So my first guess is just misses.
Try the LOS again, and everyone, please look at the LOS line. And this is why you don't take Valzel for gospel. Draw another LOS to that line, to Q6.
All right. Oh, what? You think it's not quite on the dot?
It's not even on the dot. It's on to the left side of the dot. So if you move that over 3 pixels, it'll miss the building. So that's something that you could take in mind. I would say, if I was the German player, I would say, oh, that's bullshit. The line's just not centered properly. I can't move there, because it really just barely clips the building. So if you move it 2 or 3 pixels over, that's a clear line of sight.
Yeah, that's kind of tough. I mean, isn't usually for tournaments and stuff like that, it's usually the Basel line of sight is the line of sight.
Yeah, but we know that's not centered on the dot, right?
Yeah, I know, but still, it's tough to.
I mean, you technically you could draw that line. Oh, god damn it! You could technically draw that line.
I've got the line of sight. Okay, I cleared the line of sight, so you should be all set now.
Yeah, you could check it like a longer hex but it's in the same triangular row or something like that, to make it go right through the middle part there. You can go a little further out or whatever. But simply because, obviously if it's gone halfway through the building, it's it's going to hit it. Right. But again, this can make a huge impact. If I was a German player, I said, no, it's going to miss the building there. That's just what I would do. But a lot of people say, well, it clips it, but does it really? So let me move this about 120. And that's just a nuance with the program, not a big deal. Again, he's a 5 morale unit. He's not going to rally next turn anyway. And so not a big lot of broken units in the middle. This is what turn is this? This is ally 3. So make a good headway. Now it looks to me that he's not focusing his attack. It looks like to me like the British up here have 2 units on the top, and to me it looks like those units are essentially just to keep these guys honest, to keep them on their side of the map, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So obviously his push is going to be through the middle, and he can go any direction there, and he's got a bunch of units in the bottom trying to pressure the guys in the bottom. So the top one, you really can't assault that anywhere up there. He's got a bunch of guys, and he's just going to probably destroy him. So we got a broken unit there. I don't know where. Okay, I'm not sure what happened to the 4 guy. They swapped a couple units around down there. So we got some prep fires. We DM that guy there. He's in a world of hurt in that bottom building now. And so he starts making his way. He just rushes this guy over here because they don't have many shots. And both of their guns are up on the hill, so they really can't see anything in the roads. So he's only got 1 9-2 that's defending everything. He probably already fired here. You got a final fire here, and you got some fire here. So the Brits see their opportunity, and they just make a push. They've got the units to do that, and they've got the leaders in position where they can make a move like this 7-0. If these guys get shredded in the open ground, they either route back or low crawl back. I would probably route them back to Q7 or Q6, and your 9-1 or 7-0 can move over and do his job. And so the same thing on the bottom. All those guys are broken. He's pushing up, putting the pressure on. We got some advanced fires. We got some routes. He's making good progress. He's got 3 buildings now. The 75 gun, I know you guys realize the 75 gun's hard to hit stone buildings. It's just hard. Really hard to hit. And now he pressures this guy down here, because now he's got guys everywhere. He can't fire on everybody. And so I kind of like this. Even though they're adjacent, he's relying on his 8 morale to get something done there. This is risky, but I think the pressure, he's just putting so much pressure on. Again, moves the guy here. Order of movement, right? This guy broke here. The guy in L6 moved first. I don't know who fired because I don't see a marker. I can only assume the gun fired. I don't know. I don't know where the fire marker is on that one. But if his intent was to draw fire from the AA gun, he did it so these guys can move up here to stop residual fire from coming from the gun to here. If he pops here, then this thing, hopefully it will first fire and not give a chain rate of fire. Now these guys only have to face the 9-1, which you can just work around by sheer numbers. And that's pretty much what he does. And there's a bunch of units here. Talk to me about like final protective firing over here, gentlemen. We got some broken units here. Looks like the medium fired there again. He doesn't have there's the first fire marker. Talk to me about final protective fire. What are your thoughts on that? Looks like this guy got eliminated from somebody.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think about that? Think of what the Brits are doing right now. How many guys? Of course, he didn't know this advance ahead of time, but he broke this guy and pinned the leader, and then this guy got vaporized by somebody. So you've got 3 other units. Is this an all or nothing? Do you just lay down residual here and fire forever and ever and ever? Because if he's swamping you, again, this is a tough decision because you're going to get jumped in close combat. What's going to happen in close combat? Two things are going to happen, right?
Well, I mean, you might at this point. It depends on what the Pre-French does. If that CX unit jumps in, that may not be a smart decision on his part.
Right.
Yeah, that'll definitely tip the scales a little bit. But if you're facing, right now it looks like definitely probably going to be facing 3 squads jumping in. That's still going to be pretty bad odds for you. Right.
It's very dangerous, right? So what does he need? What does this unit here need to roll when he final protective fires? What's the safe roll? That's what you want to think about. What's the safe roll I need to roll when I'm final protective firing? Because like you said, even if he...
7.
A 7?
Well, 7, because 8's going to pin you. 8 will pin you. Yeah.
But do you care about a pin?
Well, you may not want to be pinned if you're going to enter in close combat. That's not going to help you.
Right. But if you've got...
So there is that.
If you got a 6.58, 4.58, and a 4.58, and a 2.48...
Yep.
I can't even count that high. What's that, 16?
Yeah, 16 to 4, so you're looking at 4 to 1.
Yeah, it's 3 to 1, 4 to 1. That's going to be pretty rough, even if you get to ambush him. Because you're probably not going to go 1 to 4. I don't know, you might. You might.
Yeah.
So
the only problem is that there's not really any place for the German to route to at this moment. Oh well, except the British player has to route first, but he can route into, he could route into K6. Well, no, he can route into K6 because he can't see the gun, can't see the AT gun, and that's gonna really crimp the 9-1's route possibilities.
Well, he could go back to K6 if he routed here, right?
Right.
He could still route.
He could still route to L5.
Yeah. That's the only spot that he'd go to, right? Yeah. Right. Assuming it's pro. Yeah, because he can't route here first, he'd have to route to L5 first, and then he has to stop. Yeah. Obviously, if he breaks, he's It's donezo. It's gonzo. But
Yeah.
considering that you've lost a building here,
And you've lost the center building.
and
Yeah.
you've got a
Maybe.
solid force up here, right? You've got a solid force up. I would consider this a solid force. You're not going to really lose that building. And if you roll an 8 with this unit, because you don't want to roll a 9, because if you roll a 9, the leader pins and therefore can't add his modifier to the 447. So therefore
Right.
he would break. The leader would pin and he would break, and you're dead. So an 8 or less is what you're looking at in all your final protective fire shots. Now, what is your firepower when you're rolling that final protective fire shot?
Well, as long as your medium machine gun doesn't melt. Well, of course, if you roll 12, you're in trouble anyway. But
Yeah.
You're looking at 8. Yeah, so you're looking at 8 minus 1s, depending on at a minimum. Especially since they're all in open ground.
Right. Let's assume they just assault move. So you'd be looking at an 8 minus 2. I don't know if these guys fire grouped over here or not, but let's assume they did. You'd be looking at 8 minus 2s on all of them, needing 8s or less. Okay? Because simply because you're 9 minus 1 morale, and if you should happen to break these units, I mean, it's quite possible that you could break these units. But a lot of guys will probably be pinned because their 8 morale is pretty strong. Look at your center building now. You've got broken units here, right? If this unit breaks, where is he going? Where's that guy going when he breaks? Anybody could chime in here. Doesn't really matter. Again, this is only based upon the desperation where the German.
With the broken units in N3 and 2, then he's got to go to L2.
Right, L2 would be his. Yeah.
Yeah.
He could ignore L2 though, right? He could ignore L2.
Well, yeah. Good. Yeah. All right. If he did decide to ignore L2, then chances, actually, then 1, 2, he can't get to J3 at all.
Right.
It'll cost 7. He'd end up probably in the forest.
Yeah. If he routed, he'd be way over here.
Yeah.
And he'd take interdiction at L3 if he went the whole way. Most likely, most players would just low crawl him to L3. But he's got 8 morale. I mean, you could. That's a lot of interdiction, to be honest with you, because the 447 could hit it all. These guys here in the middle, where are they going to route to?
He could go to 05.
Yeah, 05 would be 5. R2 would be 5.
Yeah, and R2 would be 5. Do you see that?
Yeah.
What
1,
about
2. Actually, yeah. Yeah. P2 would be 4. So that's probably where he has to end up going.
Does he have to?
He can ignore it. He can ignore it.
Right. Do you see that? You can ignore.
Yeah.
This would be your destination, but you can't ignore it because these units are here. That's 2 hexes from him the entire way. So this is what you're looking at. There's a couple scenarios in here where the route gets really tricky when these guys jump off of this building. The safest spot right here is right here in the middle. And the reason why is mostly there's Germans here, there's Germans on this side, and Germans on this side. So what that does is that forces him straight back up the hill for 5. Now, if you're looking at like this unit here, if he jumps off at here, and there are no German units here.
Well, except if the German in N5 breaks, he can't go back to 06 because then he's getting closer to to P8.
Right. This guy, the medium machine gun would be go back to N with 9-1 here.
He doesn't have any choice.
Yeah, because he's not getting closer to this guy here. If this guy were say an 03, what happens to that guy?
Might very well be eliminated failure route.
Yeah, this guy would be dead. That's a dead zone. This is you break, you die. If there's a German unit in 03 or even in P2. Let's say you bypass the building. If you go into this hex, that's a death hex. This one might also well be, if you have LOS to here. This is very dangerous when you're jumping around here when you have flanks. Extremely dangerous. So, hopefully you guys were looking at that. It came up later, but we'll just continue. But again, an 8 for final protective fire with a -2 modifier on everybody adjacent with you. Considering you have no units here to protect your gun, and this building's already gone, that's almost a done deal. That's almost a mandatory that you have to continue that, because his advanced fire is going to be incredible. It looks like he did a final protective fire on that. Well, maybe. Well, there's the first fire marker finally. Again, he had to have fired on somebody else because somebody broke the guy on the bottom. Oh, and his leaders are moving up. Even better. Because right now, he moved his leader second, right? What would you have down there? What would you have down in all those hexes? If you FPF'd in all those hexes, what would you have?
Oh, you should have a lot of residual, yeah.
Yes. How much residual would you have there? Assuming you weren't pinned.
4s.
4s. 4 -2 shots. Those are free 4 -2 shots, plus you get the final protective fire again. So a 9 -2 jump in there would be is a free 4 -2, which, you know, you're happy to take. He'll probably pass it, but it's still, you never know. I mean, you guys have seen the rolls come out of this game. You never know what's going to happen. So he does route to K6, only spot he can go. Technically he can go to M7, but I like K6. K6 is a strong route. Most players will go to M7. This is strong, very strong. And why is that?
Because you're limiting the Germans in M5. You're really constricting them as to where they can go if they ever break.
And what else? Let's say they don't break, and then they break all those guys ahead of them. What about this guy here? Where is he in proximity on the map?
Well, if he rallies, then he can just jump into K5.
Right. He's behind the Germans, and he's routing forward. He's going closer to his objective. They already have this building. He doesn't need to route back to that building. And if he goes here or here, he's going to be fired upon by everybody. Here, no one can fire on him. Someone has to move to fire on him, and this guy's not going to move. These crews might jump out and jump back in, but I doubt it. You know, this guy might, because there's nothing to fire at. I mean, so this is an excellent move, simply because it gets out of you know, harm's way, and it gets you closer to your objective in case all these guys get blasted. Because he's going to roll an 8 in one more player turn. Well, during his next turn, he's going to roll an 8, assuming the Germans don't assault move back or whatever. But I don't think the Germans can afford to give up the stone building. But I like the route here. Route forward, routing to objective, and he's out of harm's way. Routing to M7 is legal, and he could route to N7 is also legal because these guys aren't in LOS yet. But this gets him nothing, because the Germans eventually probably have to counterattack that building, right? You're going to be DM'd the whole time. He's either going to move a guy there or fire a dumb LMG or something like that. Most likely he's going to keep this guy DM'd. So this is a beautiful spot. World of difference between here and either of these other locations. World of difference. Look for those spots, gentlemen. Look for those sweet spots where you can be safe. And so we're jumping. Oh, again, I love this close combat. Even though they're CX, the guy's pinned. So it kind of is like a equivalent there. We got a giant CXs going around. Oh, lots of close combats. We got a melee here, which is fine. Nothing's wrong with this melee. Why do we not care about this melee?
You're tying up most of the German defense at that point.
Yeah. Now this guy almost guarantees a rally, and he's tied up, and you get to blast him. You get to fire in there next time with, you know, point blank fire from everybody. There's not much left down there, but you get the drift. And you got a melee up there. That's hilarious. That's great. Those guys got a route, so he jumps into melee. There's just a lot of blood, a major bloodbath going on. This is just a bloodbath. Oops. Just a bloodbath. Love the aggression. I think Craig took advantage of the early German loss and just ran with it. And I think it's valuable, even if he loses the guys up top, which looks like he's all those guys are broken up top. So even though he lost those guys, I do like the aggression on it, and the German's trying his best to make amends, to blast whoever he can. So we're just burning through this. The melee Brits move. We gather another building. We have 4 buildings right now. And the German, there's no crew right here. I guess he casual reduced or something. But there's no crew in that gun, so he's gone. That's another. Oh, actually, I'm not sure where the crew is. There's no crew there.
Oh. Okay. Huh.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the deal is with that. But
But
he's invisible.
Yeah,
maybe
he's invisible.
Maybe he's still hip or something like that. So so that was pretty much the game there. And most of the game, to be honest with you, the game occurred. The game was won right in the middle. On this particular game here, he penetrated the middle. He took advantage of that guy being in close combat, and then you forced him up there. Another huge move is moving that unit in Q6. To when this guy first fired, now all your leaders and all your other support units can move up to P4. Can he be fired up from other units? Sure, but we're not taking that -2 shot in Q5. We're not taking that -2 shot in Q5. Plus, we can get up there easier than going to Q4, not on road. The Q6 was a giant move. Order of movement. He moves them in there, CXs, right? He moves that unit in there, CX'd in here. Oops, there's nothing there. I don't know what unit he was, but he moved this guy here to tie that guy's fire down up there, which allowed units to go to P4, which allowed him to reinforce the melee and take full control of the center of the map. And these things are hard to hit. The guns are hard to hit, hard to have an effect. And he only had the 9-1 centralized. And so he took advantage of the Germans, kind of bad luck or whatever. And then he kind of rolled with it. And so I like that, you grab it, you seize an opportunity, and you make the right moves, like moving this guy here, and then making it safe for your units to consider going on forward. And then he just essentially he routes the Germans at that point. Any questions on this one from anybody that might see something, a gun placement or whatever like that? I don't mind so much the gun placement here because he kind of defends down the road. I mean, the gun. It's hard to place the guns up in this scenario. To be honest with you, I've got a spot that I'll talk at the end about where it's a risky spot, but I don't want to say anything about it more. But flow of this game. Any other things you guys saw that maybe I didn't point out that was important when you were looking through the log, or things like that? Anything? Actually,
no, I don't think anything else kind of came to mind. Hold on, but there's something I want to take a look at. South, second. Oh, okay, all right.
So are we good? Okay. You want to swap to the next one?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay, let's drop the next one. So I'm going to close this game here, and I'll open the next one. This will be John. John, did you play Steve B?
Yeah, John and Steve B and I both played each other.
Okay, I just have Steve B on the log. So this is your game here. So go ahead and resync with me. I'm loaded with this one here.
All right.
Oh, this is the Snake Eyes game from hell. Oh my god! This is the post-traumatic stress syndrome or whatever you call it, PTSD. Oh my gosh, this was this crazy game.
Turn 3 got bloody.
Yeah,
turn 3 was bloody in a big way.
Yeah, it's a crazy game. So we're gonna start from here. I think you're gonna put the your fortified buildings down here.
Correct. Yes.
I don't know why all these guys are moving. I'm going to unmove these guys. So already we see a difference between the fortified building here in the center and the fortified building on the bottom. It changes the entire complexion of the game, in my opinion, on how you would assault. Because most of the time, I think the key is getting your units to the 9-2 leader so he can use the firepower of the units that are coming up, whether it be MMGs, 648s, whatever. He's got no firepower, but he's extremely powerful, obviously, right? So getting to his position is very important. There's not much of a spot over here, but you're only 2 hexes away from this little wonky building, and There's another building over here that I don't think anybody actually got to, but there's a building back here that you could also take into consideration. So there's this building you start with. You're building in the center, which if you have a shitload of units, I mean, although you're going to be looking at woods, won't be the greatest thing in the world, but you do have 8 morale, and you have woods here on the flanks, so you don't have like the wooden thing up here, wooden and stone building fortifications up in the middle, but it's a decent spot depending on how you want to pursue your game. You do have access to this building back here. Again, the terrain is not the best, but it's better than open ground. So from this building to this building, you don't have to cross any open ground, and that's really an oddity that actually occurs, and you know, might be difficult to do, but you have 1, 2, 3 buildings in close proximity, and then you only have to get 1 or 2. You could actually ignore this one up here, but I just want to point out that depending on where you set up your fort really dictates the tempo of how you're going to attack. So just taking that into consideration. I didn't actually take this building into consideration over here, but it's pretty interesting. It really changes the game, and if you guys didn't set up down here, you'll see how it changes, and this might actually exemplify it. So we got guys moving up here. Again, these guys aren't screwing around. They're starting off with low dice rolls. So we got good shots being taken here. You know, residual fire, love that. Ignoring the residual firepower because you're 8 morale, right, John?
Right.
Yeah, just two
and
plus.
That made a huge difference in the end of the game.
Yeah, just I mean that's a 2+1 shot, right, gentlemen? Because he's not assault moving in there. 2+1. He's 9 morale and his 648's 8 morale. Even if the leader gets pinned or broken, 648's going to be immune to him. So here's the point of the mortar moving up here. These guys really don't have anybody to fire at anymore. I'm not sure if they just first fired. My bad. Oh, okay. He first fired on this guy right here, and he actually rolls a 4.
Right.
And you break, but
he broke him.
Yeah, and then he goes from there. So in this sort of instance, he pretty much doesn't have any targets to fire at. He's got a. This is a pretty sweet target. I mean, actually it's a +3 building. It's a 4+3 is really not going to have an effect. So if he's got nobody else to fire at, he's going to choose the easiest target. And so this might be a situation here, and this is what I was pointing out earlier in our first game. You might want to consider just I think you start in U1, just consider although you're going to be CX'd, it doesn't matter. Just consider, you know, advanced phasing in there. You'll be CX because that'll be all your movement factors, all your available movement factors, right? But does the +1 really matter for your rate of fire 3 and your mortar on your to hit? Nah, it really doesn't.
Yeah.
And your 4+3, let's say, you might be combined with this guy, be a 12+3. Not a bad shot. I mean, if that's what you were going for, I don't have a problem with that. But just because he was the last guy to fire, last guy to move, and he hadn't fired at anybody, you're only giving him 1 target. Again, not a big deal. It's a very, very small, very, very minor thing. But just know that you won't be able to fire your mortar until next turn. And now he's broken, you can't fire it for quite some time. But there's a little trick that shows up later. So if your point was just to kind of there and pound him with mortar fire, don't be afraid of the CX if that's what you were worried about. Well, I don't want him to be CX when I'm firing the mortar, so I'm going to move him in there first. You know what I'm saying? If you want him to move him in there so he can combine with his medium machine gun here, which I didn't remember that you had here, I'm 100% on board with that. That's a 12 shot. That's much better than the mortar's going to do. So your 12+3 is really good if that's what your intent was. Now, if this guy was going to advance over here and these guys advance up, we'll see. But something like this, it could be tricky if you really wanted to let that mortar to hammer the guys. Now, is there a tricky LOS you guys see with the mortar from this location? What can he see?
You can see P1 and P2.
Yeah. Can he see something in the center of the board?
You can see Mike 5.
Mike 5. Yeah. That's a good spot for that mortar. because a lot of times the Germans will defend right in the middle. That's a good spot for the mortar. I think a lot of guys put the mortar up there. That's a good spot to assault the side over here and a little bit in the middle. Other than that, the mortar, I mean, it's again stone buildings. It's kind of rough. I mean, if you put him back here, he really can't see past these buildings with the gun. Typically shows up here, and he can't see anything on the ground. So the mortar's hard to work with, gentlemen. I don't envy your guys' decision on what the hell to do with that mortar. So these guys are moving up again. This is a pretty safe maneuver. Oh, here we go. Hold on. My bad. My bad. Back up just a little bit. I apologize for this. Oh, crap. That's screwed up. Let me resync. God, these damn log files. Since this is the beginning, we're gonna... And this is just an order of movement, what I wanted to cover. Go ahead and resync.
Okay.
And this is an order of movement instance. It may or may not have made a difference. Again, I'm not sure how your opponent would have fired. Oh, Steve's here. Steve could actually pipe in on this. But I'm going to advance it to the point where you move that bottom guy, because I got hung up on the mortar. Okay, so you move the top side. Okay, you're moving the bottom guy here, right? Now, Steve, since you're here,
Right.
what's your priority target with the guy in 06? What are you looking for to fire at?
If I remember correctly, I was basically looking to shoot at anybody in R9 or R10 if I had line of sight.
So if anybody moved into R8,
What?
you would ignore them?
Well, the 6 up 2, maybe not.
Right. Okay, so Steve's wavering on whether he's going to fire on you or not, right? So if especially if it's just a regular 4.58, it's like I'll just let him go. But like if it's a 4.58 with a medium machine gun that moves into here, that might be a shot that will make make your opponent reconsider. But your terrain is very high. So, but check out the order of movement here. So we've got a unit, not a problem in making this maneuver. That's at maximum range. And again, I love the 4.67 here. Why is the 4.67 a strong position here versus a 4.47?
He's able to take a full firepower shot to the edge of the board as opposed to a half power shot.
Right, he's in range. He's absolutely in range. This is a smart position to put that unit there. And he doesn't even have to fire the LMG. He could just save the LMG for another guy, maybe an R9 or some bullshit. So, strong position for the 4.67. Same thing with the 4.47s. Short range, 1, 2, 3, 4. Short range unit. These guys are probably, well, you got a couple 4.67s anyway. This 4.67 here, why has he got that 4.67 there instead of there? Why is the 4.6? Does it make a difference where he has these units? Steve, why did you put the 4.67 there?
Well, he could reach U row or U column in full firepower.
Yeah, he could fire. He could fire on all these up and around X's. Both 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He goes S6, 7, 8. That's a lot of coverage, and that's full firepower there and half firepower beyond that. Pretty strong. Good position here. I like this. Is not random setup here. This is a good position. 4.47 here.
A little thought went into it, I think.
Yeah, and the 4.67, same sort of thing over here. This guy technically could be a 4.47, but depending how far you want to fire, I think he could probably get to LOS over here. That's pretty nasty LOS over there. But I like these two guys here. Very important that happened. So he gets shot here, and he only fires the LMG, which is fine, not a problem. Lays down some residual, and then the other guy moves into here. But again, just if this guy had moved into here with the LMG, he might have baited that shot out. It's a pretty safe position here, and this guy would have been free and clear, not even taking that shot down there. Although he didn't break, that's beside the point. Maybe if the guy's going to fire there later. So now he fires at him, and he gets actually a 3 on that guy. So, and John just laughs at him.
He shrugs it off.
Yeah, and then that's a crazy LOS there. Really good LOS there. These guys just no holds bar on their damn LOSs in this one here. And he gets blasted. Good shove in the middle. A couple advanced fire shots. And then 9 minus 2. That must have backed up. Again, he routes back over here. Not a problem. I don't think he could see anybody up on the hills, so. And the 8 minus 1. Looks like he rallies that unit. Wow, good deal. And then we're going to do the old Skolkomatic and jump back into position. And look at that. Easy rally, right, gentlemen?
Yeah.
This guy loses DM. Once pops right back up. And guess what? We still have that 12 firepower looking right at him. Now, so this is actually a pretty interesting aspect right here. Let's see what happens here. So we prep fire here, prep fire here. Okay, here it is. This is a trick, gentlemen. This is a trick. And use this. Look at this corner up here. What does this unit, what do you want to do, John? You want to go get the mortar, right?
I do.
Can you fire this unit at this guy? Let's assume he has LOS. It's tight, but I think he does. Can you get this 12 firepower? That's LOS. Can you fire 12 firepower and still pick up your mortar?
Ugh.
Can you do that?
Probably if I shifted the crew manning the machine gun to the mortar in the advance phase, and then the squad at U2 shift him to T1.
Absolutely. Very quick, astute of you to pick that up right up. You could
well,
fire.
but it's not quite automatic.
Well, right, but everything but a 6. I mean.
Right, everything but a 6. Right, so it's not quite automatic.
Yeah, but it's pretty damn good.
It's pretty close. Yes.
So you've got 12 firepower instead of the 8. Increase your odds a little bit, and then drop, advance, drop, or just move in there, or advance in there, and then as long as you don't roll, 6s on them, which is not going to happen that often.
Remember, if I'm rolling.
Yeah. If you're rolling, you're picking it up and breaking it at the same time.
Right, simultaneously. Found a way.
Yeah, somehow he just dropped one of the mortar shells and explodes. But yeah, I saw that. It's like, wow, because I know you moved up here. It's like, wait, can he get to the? Oh yeah, he could drop it. This is a little trick to do. I mean, it's not easily apparent because you're looking at priority because you're probably mad that you lost your mortar. I'd be too. Now it's like, okay, let me get back to the mortar.
Yes.
And but not a big 8 firepower is a good shot, but yeah, you definitely, especially if it goes from a 4. Let's say this guy's was just a 4. If he takes a 4+3, if you went to an 8+3, that's actually even better than an 8+3 to a 12+3, because you're actually going up 2 charts from the 4 to the 8. So, but in this case, it only will go up 1 chart. So it's like a -1 liters, which essentially you're adding to it. But yeah, you could drop, advance, and then move in here, and then try to go for recoveries later on. So just a little trick. Again, not a big deal. You go pick it up anyway. So this middle part's pretty tough. He's got a squad. He's you got a +3 building, so you're looking good. And again, looks like he fires here, so now these guys are free to move. All right, you moved here. He fires. These guys are almost free to move, assuming he doesn't have some sort of wonky LOS. And the Germans are standing fast. This is right here. Giant balls right here. Giant balls. Because
I got lucky on an advanced fire shot. I was able to DM him in 06, and he routed back to 05.
Right.
And so I decided on the advanced phase to try to get somebody up the hill.
Yeah, absolutely. So because he has the force to do that. Even if this guy breaks and this guy does nothing, he still has even if he breaks, it keeps this guy DM'd. So at that point, it's not too bad. And then he could also advance this guy in here later on. So not bad at all. He's taking the force. He's trying to shove it down his throat. Again, aggressive maneuver. And just trying to take advantage. The gun rears its ugly head, starts shooting shots. And we've got the prep fire there. We're doing the old Skolkomatic again. And here, when you can no longer skulk at a line of sight from fire, you might want to take some shots. But simply because that's a 6 firepower. If that's a 4 firepower, I wouldn't care. I'd probably skulk too. I'm not going to worry about 4 firepower plus 2. So they're making the pops. That guy routes. I think he takes a route check and he goes wonko. He gets bonkers on that one. Skulk back up. Ooh, there's a half squad there. Wow. Holy shit. Oh, there's John. Here he goes.
That was the mortar shot from hell.
Yeah.
Right there.
He snaked him. He staked him in there and then blew him to hell. And yeah, 3 on the, what is that? That's going to be, what did you...
That's 4 KIA.
Yeah, because what does it end up being? Yeah, because it ends up being 16. Yeah, 16.
Yeah, 16 chart,
minus
right?
3.
So you resolved that on the 16 chart, right? Right, John?
16 minus 3, yeah.
Right, okay.
3, yeah.
So when you get a crit with a mortar, you don't double its halved effect, you double whatever the millimeters of the mortar is. So it's almost like it's quadrupling the firepower.
Yep.
So make sure when you get your little shit mortars, your 50 millimeter mortars, your German mortars, pop, 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 you're not doubling the 2 to 4, you're doubling the 6 to 12. So that makes a huge difference.
Oh, I missed that. I totally missed that.
Yeah. So the 50 millimeters mortars actually goes up 4 charts. The 60 millimeter mortar only actually goes up 2 charts. So, which is kind of odd, and so the it's even more important to make sure when you get your crits on your little 50 millimeter mortars that you double the 6 and not double the 2. But yeah, You blasted him pretty good. I'm not sure what happened to the LMG. I see
it died. It was a KIA, so we looked it up. I remember Steve and I, we were talking about that. We were thinking maybe the LMG would still be there, but according to the rules, it went away.
Right, but
no, aren't you supposed to if you do roll a KIA, you roll again for each support weapon on that same table with a single die roll.
All right, I think it's what Steve did here because they looked it up. They're gonna roll 5.
That's what.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But the question I think I still had was, would the reverse TEM apply to the destruction of the weapon as well? I think we decided it did, and that's why it was destroyed, and we removed it.
Right, but your 5, it should be equal to or less than the KA number of the thing. So since he rolled a 4, you would have to roll a 1 through 4, but it doesn't really matter in this game, in this particular game. Do you see what I'm saying? How did you arrive at the 5 would destroy it?
Well, I think we took the TEM out because it was a critical hit, and like I said, I don't know if that was right or not.
Right,
so
right.
Right. So they applied the TEM to that single die roll. So 5 minus 3 would be a 2.
Oh, I see what you did. No, yeah. It's just the KA number. It's just rolled against the KA number.
Okay.
So, but that's all right. No big deal. That's a hell of a shot.
I wasn't sad about that weapon not falling into enemy hands.
Yeah, exactly. Especially at 6.4. Exactly. So, yeah, that was a hell of a shot. I saw that too. It's like, wow, wow. Hey, he doesn't waste any time blowing the shit out of people. So we got some good fire going on here. 648 moving up.
I got mine real quick though. Trust me.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
right
absolutely. I love the firing here. This guy's just shooting everything he can. Lots of good residual. Good residual. And the same thing there. Some residual moving there. Guy moving up and around. I like the moves. He's pushing it. This is risky, but that's fine. Looking good. Looks like we've got a hold of pretty much 2 buildings already, which is pretty crazy because this is actually a really tough scenario. Really tough scenarios, but Snake Eyes kind of do that for you. And so,
I wouldn't know.
Yeah. At least you don't have to look up critical hit rules.
Right here in the center, I went close combat, and so I've got 0506, and then for about 15 seconds I hold the building, and then look what happens with Steve's AT gun when he shoots that stack.
Yeah. Oh, oops.
He gets a hit, and then he rolls snakes on the IFT.
So that's a 1 KIA. Not Hicks. Oh my god. So he destroys
So
him.
I lose my 648 and 458. He's wishing he'd stayed in Paris.
Good lord. That blew the hell out of him. That's crazy. Good result. Good result. Pins him in the back. He routes there. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. 2-4. 2-3. Yeah, he's got to go that way. Yeah, absolutely. Skulking. The bottom looks really strong for the Germans. Really strong. The top is crazy. And there's the gun. Now, did you hit down on this one here? I'm not sure where I came and actually started watching on this one. Did you swivel the gun that direction, Steve?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so what modifiers would you be looking at right there?
Let me look at the chart. It's whatever one hex spine for a quick setup gun is doubled for being in the building. I think it was +2.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
And then your modifier against this guy, you got a guy here. What's your attack? You're firing a 6.
It was not assault move, so I think it was a 6 flat, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, +2 for the swivel, -2 for non-assault movement in the open. Yep.
If you swivel, you're gonna have a +1 modifier. So therefore, the first fire movement in the open won't apply.
Oh. So it's just non-assault movement.
It's just non-assault movement. Non-assault
Okay.
movement.
So it would be a 6+1.
Yeah, it's a good shot though. Good shot
Yeah.
though. Very good shot.
Interesting. Okay. Wouldn't have guessed that.
Because the
Okay.
6, you rolled really well. Doesn't really matter, and he passed a morale check. It's like, okay, it doesn't matter whether you forgot that modifier or not, but not a big deal. And Mr. Big Balls just jumps right in the building. Nothing stopping him. And then, oh, another thing. You first fired the gun. Can you fire it again?
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think, John? What do you guys think? Can you fire this? Yeah. So in this case, he can either intensify the gun as a 20 millimeter or sustain fire it using the infantry firepower equivalent. The choice is yours. And guess what? There's no covered arc modifier applies anymore. So I think I saw that in another game where I think I saw like final fires on the weapons, where they could actually you can intensify or sustain fire the weapon. And I'm not sure if it made a difference in those particular games, but just keep in mind that you can do that, because there were a couple players that were brand new to the guns, and that's what we're here for. We're just kind of ironing out some of the little details that are kind of tricky, and guns can be tricky at times. They can be tricky at times. So I love this aggression over here. This guy's broken, but he's making a backdoor move. Love the flanks. Flanks almost always work, people. If you hit a hard flank, even if you don't have a leader, just by broken units, remember like we talked about before, even guys just break up here, and these guys break and they want to run up the hill or some bullshit like that. Even broken units in those positions that you never intend to rally are a pain in the ass. They just are a pain in the ass. So even if these guys end up being broken, it's not a big deal, especially if you got a little half squad. That 3 firepower is not doing anything to anyone in stone building. He's just not.
Right.
His firepower is irrelevant. You know, he'd have to be point blank, and that's still a 6+3. But at least he's got his buddy with him, so now we're looking at a 12 chart. So now there's a little bit of oomph in that guy. Here comes Mr. Mortar, and we got the 9-1 popping around. Guns popping at him. You might as well try and DM somebody. I have no problem with that. You know, because he can't really see anybody else, and he probably doesn't want to turn down here. That's going to be an impossible hit. So, plus the bottom is kind of secured anyway. I like that shot. I honestly like that shot selection. People might argue, oh, you got a giant 9-2 down here that pinned you last time. Yeah, but you're not going to hit that. You're not going to hit in your first shot. Plus, it's fortified. Even if you have acquisition, it's going to be like that 3 or 4 that we discussed before. Yeah. It's a difficult, very difficult shot to make. But, you know, it's a 12 even, but still difficult. Oh, yeah, here we go. Johnson making the move here. And he's pumping point blank fire. Good shot. He pins him. And did the guy rally into the 8-0? No, he's still broken. Oh, damn. That's too bad. So the Germans are skulk advancing, so trying to defend that last building. I like the 338 defending the back. Did you see what happened here, gentlemen? Tell me what happened here, the first fire. Steve, you can tell me.
I don't even remember. Hold on.
He was taking a shot at my broken unit at Q4.
With what?
In,
no. This guy
75.
here. This guy here. He fired
Yeah.
when he moved here. What did he fire?
Oh,
that's right.
I
Fire the
remember. I
crew.
used the crew's
Use
inherent
the
firepower.
crew. This is
Forgot
where
about that.
a lot of people ignore the crew. The crew still has firepower. That's a 2-2 shot. That's an excellent shot to take, especially since he has no other targets, right? He's got no targets, and he doesn't want to swivel that gun. I mean, he could, but it's going to be a +4, whatever. But a 2-2 is essentially going to be, a 6 chart. I mean, he's just looking pretty much a 6 chart straight up even. Could he swivel the gun over there? It's going to be +4, right? He'll be -1.
+8.
So yeah, it's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot to hit the guy. So he's going to need like a 4 to hit him anyway. If he rolls a 2-2 and he rolls a 4, that's a K1. The guy dies. So if he hits him, he dies if he just straight up fires on him. So you don't really need to turn the gun. So I like that. So this really impressed me here is you've got the crew, fire the crew. Big thing there. Big thing there. Unfortunately, nothing happened. But the idea is sound. The idea is what we're looking for here, people. I don't care what the results are. It's the idea. And the residual. I love that residual. It's like, come on, 9-1. Come take it. So, but it's getting rough here for Steve. He's getting swamped. This is kind of crazy. Oh, we got a breakdown here. We got a crack in his armor. We got a crack in his armor, but he's got good flankers. He's got good flankers.
I think that's the only thing my stack in K9 did the whole game.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
It did.
It's pretty rough.
It's
impressive
pretty
because
idle. I'm not happy with that.
Yeah, well, consider it's a fortified location. It's pretty impressive that an 8+3 cracked the 9-2 leader. So, but he's defended. Do you see how those flanks are? It's 2-4, 2-4-8. This guy, obviously can't move right now. He might move next round, but he's got a 4-5-8 and another 4-5-8 here with the LMG. So this location is still well protected from any counterattack.
Sure.
Really well protected. As a matter of fact, they all broke. Holy shit. So that's huge. But there's no risk at losing that building.
It's whole stack. The whole stack. Yeah,
Yeah. So very impressive. He does rally the leader. And we got bad things going on up top. So we have 4 buildings right now. The Germans have to counterattack something. We got some prep fires. Well, this AA gun is they final fire. Morale check on Steve. You rolled at 12. Damn it.
Yeah. His crew went away on the
that's
CR
too bad.
for morale check.
These guys fought hard. They fought hard. And you did rally this unit here. That's a good rally here. And the unit up here got DM'd again. Why? How'd this unit get broken? Because we have a little cheap ass 338 that moved behind him that caused a problem. One little 338 caused a problem here. This guy, 9-2 with the medium machine gun, only pinned him. We got a little 338 that was a half squad from over here in R2. He worked his way around and took out his gun. I don't know if that was your plan with the 338 the entire way, but if it was, that's major kudos. You gave the guy a job to do. I'm going to go charge that gun, go take out the gun, and that's exactly what he did. That's exactly what he did.
After he vaporized my 648, I knew I had to do something to take that out because he had 05 and 06 pretty much zeroed in.
Yeah.
If I was going to try to hold that building for the length of the game, I had to do something with the gun.
Absolutely. And using this unit right here, perfect. Because guess what? If he jumps into close combat, it's 3-2. He doesn't have to risk a full squad. Do a full squad somewhere else. This is a perfect opportunity for this guy to do it. Could he have set more there? Sure. Absolutely. He could have set more guys there. But did he need to? no, he probably felt this was enough to go there. And, 6+2 on that guy. And then, again, if he doesn't do anything, him firing back at him is going to be a 4+3. So he's pretty much immune once he gets to the stone buildings. And then he just jumps into close combat. But again, where's this unit going to route? Let's find out. He's broken, so where's he going to route? Let me see what phase it is. Hold on.
That crew comes back to bite me in the ass in a big way later on.
Okay.
Well, yeah, the route probably J3 would probably be his route square.
J3. Okay, take a look at this, gentlemen. John and Steve, take a look at this. Where's this unit routing? Steve, where are you routing this guy?
Well, I know it wasn't J3, and I'm trying to figure out why.
Why can't you go to J3? Or why do you want to go to J3? And this is where elevation and lines of sight.
Right, you can't go to J3 because you end up getting closer to the unit you see in 06.
06,
Yep.
so J3's
Right.
out.
That's right. That's
J3's
right.
out. Okay.
Because J3's out, J4's out, right?
Yep.
Because this is a potential route location.
Yeah.
Even though somebody's there, you don't know he's there. If that's the only direction you go that direction. But J4's out for the same reason J3's out, because of this guy. H4's out and I3's out, right?
Yeah, that's not leaving you a whole lot of.
So it's pretty easy where to route. Can you go to I5?
Yes.
Who would be a pain in your ass in going to I5?
Oh, the unit in 09, yeah.
09.
Yeah, with the LNG.
You're getting closer to 09. This guy dies. Failure to route. Straight up.
Really?
dies.
Yeah, we must have misplayed that whole thing then.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
we did.
It's easy to
We
do
must not
because
have considered 09.
Because of the units on the hills, yeah.
yeah.
But that's
It's easy to do because these guys are kind of hidden. The hills are small, right?
Now, hang on for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, J3 and J4 end up getting closer to 06. And I5 gets closer to.
I was thinking for some reason I thought he was out of range at that point, but I don't think he was.
Well, it doesn't matter whether he's out of range.
Right.
It just means that you're moving closer. He may
Right.
not hit you, but you can't move closer.
Right. This guy, remember, this guy could be five. This guy could be 5 boards over, and he's still getting close to that enemy unit, which is kind of silly. But yeah, very, very not. It's easily missed, but something that you definitely want to just keep. Just take your routing unit, and just break it down. And don't just say, okay, I see this building or I see this building. That's where. Or a lot of times, a guy this will happen, and. There might be a leader. This is my leader. Okay, I'm just going to route to my leader. And you go route the leader. Instead of actually looking at the path. Again, this is where I talk about when people do. Not that you guys did, because you guys have had a really, really good gamer here. But it just goes to show you that little tricky, even though he's out of range, because you considered range an option, it's just closer to an enemy unit. So that's what we're looking at in both of these locations. So let's ignore that anyway. So. But just break it down. You obviously can't go here and here, right?
Yeah.
And here would be the closest. For me, when I route, it's like take the closest location, J3, that's away from this guy, and it's the nearest in MF. Can I go there? And say, oh, this guy's over here. Can't go there. So that pretty much eliminates everything else beyond this. So then in J4, it's like, okay, it's same instance. Now that only leaves I5. And then when you go to so if I go to I5, what's the closest after I go to I5? It could be It's probably going to be G6, right? Or
And that's
technically,
where you wound up.
it could be
That's where we ended up.
Yeah, it could be G6.
Yeah, I just missed 09.
Yeah, it could be G6 or K6
Well,
in case
I
you
did
missed
too,
it.
so.
Yeah, but that's fine. That's fine. But just take it slow, take it bit by bit, and if there's multiple guys in here, remember they all route one at a time, just in case something weird happens. Just take them one at a time. But it's not a big deal. And again, you check the LOS here and the whole 9 yards. I have no problem with that. I saw the little sneaky LOS come around. So not a big deal. Jump into close combat. He gets vaporized. Unfortunately, there's John's Snake Eyes. John's not screwing around. He's just screwing around. Okay. John, what happens when you roll snake eyes in close combat?
I'm sorry?
What happens when you roll snake eyes in close combat?
Leader creation.
Yeah, you get a Christmas present. You get a Christmas present. So
which I failed to give to myself.
It's okay. You can opt not to take the leader, to be honest. That is an option. I think it's in close combat, it's an option, or in rally, it's an option. Because sometimes you don't want to add a leader in the game if it creates more victory points. If the game is based on victory points, sometimes you might not want a leader to be created, especially like there's a whole shitload of bad guys around you. You're just going to lose him anyway. So essentially, you're giving him an extra victory point. But yeah, not a big deal. Don't really care about that. Easy to ignore. You know, you're just Snake Eye King right now. But just little things like that. And every once in a while, just pull out your charts. Pull out your charts, your SK charts or whatever, and just read down like the modifiers, like an ambush. You know, when you jump into close combat, a lot of times you kind of like brush off ambush because mostly it's like only a couple modifiers that ever apply, right? But just kind of read through the chart every once in a while when you're just sitting, you know, having some coffee. It's like, oh, that's interesting. Vehicles +2 for ambush. I never realized that. Or -2 concealed, or lax, or berserk, or whatever the hell all that stuff means, right? You know, and the same thing. Well, you don't have to do a heated battle, but leader creation. Look at the close combat table, the modifiers. You know, you might find something that you had overlooked before, and just kind of make yourself familiar with the particular charts, so it doesn't surprise you too much. And the same thing with the fire and the to hit charts. Just take a look at them every once in a while, in between games or something like that, and just kind of say, oh, what, you know, intensive fire. Okay, I know how to do that. You know, captured. Okay, I understand that. This, that, and the other. You might find something that you hadn't seen before. So just a FYI on that. And so that's just, you know, just takes time. Not a big deal. And again, you've got everything well in hand anyway, so you probably don't really worry about that. Man, the Germans.
Okay, I've got to say something. I've got to say one thing right here.
All right.
You look down there at the 9-2 on the screen right now.
Yep.
I am not so conceited that I would put my own damn name on the 9-2 leader. Stu did that. It wasn't me. Okay, so.
No. I said, John, don't ever do that. That's the worst thing you could do. And he said, screw you, Stu. Yeah, that's okay. With those snake eyes, he earns it. Oh, man, that was funny. I remember John made a point of that during the game. Oh, here he comes. Here comes the hero. The 228. He's got balls. Look at that. That's open ground. That's 8 -2 in the open. That's crazy. The Germans are making the move over here. Again, that's about the only option that he has, other than going in the middle. I mean, that's really the only thing you can do. I don't see. I don't know. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4. The problem is when the Germans counterattack here, they're going to lose this one here. But there's nothing. You really can't jump up here. It's just hard. It's just a hard situation.
Well, the final turn, so the Germans don't have to worry about losing the building.
Yeah, he's not losing any buildings because I can't occupy them.
Oh, last turn.
So,
yeah. Sorry, my bad. Last turn. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I really like this charge here. Just trying going after it. Doing 2, 3.
Yeah.
Did you moved to the J7? I think, right? I think you moved to the J7.
He did. Yes.
Yeah.
Moved into J7, and I waited until he moved to J6 before I let him up.
Right. Now, Jim, do you see a different, or Steve, do you see a different direction you may have selected to go? Did you after the game? Did you say, oh, maybe that wasn't the best choice, or was that the best choice, Steve?
Well, I think I went that way to stay out of the residual in L7. And I can't remember exactly who shot at me at that point. Was it the line of sight that's drawn now?
I think so.
I think so, yeah.
So what's
it was either that one or probably one of the, or probably 09.
Yeah, so if I did take the residual, that going down to the road might have saved me from taking fire from this group down here at the bottom here, 09 and
this guy would have had a subsequent first fire shot on you. Not a problem. I mean, but that's another 2/2, right? So you take a 2/2 here, and then he'll subsequent first fire on you and give you another 2/2. These guys this guy over here is a 4/2, and John with his entourage here is going to be I don't care what it is, it's a -4 shot. So this is very dangerous to go this way. So just take a look at your avenues of approach. It seems kind of odd that running down into the residual would be safer because it's a free shot, but just add up what he could possibly do on you. Because he had fired everybody else. Nobody else can fire on you. Only this guy can fire on you. And this guy's final fired, right?
Yep.
So yes,
you got a 2/2 and a 2/2, and that's it. And then you get to, one of these locations there, either here or here. Wherever you want to go. You probably want to go there to jump into close combat. I don't know. But once you reach here, you're still 3 hexes away from these guys. And then once you reach here, now this guy can fire on you. Actually, this guy could fire on you subsequent first fire here.
Right,
yeah, because it's 3 and 3. But still, that's a 2/3 versus a whatever -4. It's tight. It's tight, but it's okay. Not a big deal. You tried your best. Again, it's a tight situation, and unfortunately you broke. I was gunning for you this one. I really said, man, I sure hope he makes it there. And unfortunately, you just get he just picks you off. But I do love the 228 jumping, avoiding that firepower. And then we jump into close combat, and he does it.
And he wins.
And he beats him in the close combat. So that's
I got ambushed too.
Yeah, ambushed.
I got ambushed.
You got ambushed.
And the crew wins.
Yeah.
But all for naught.
That's okay.
It was a great game. I enjoyed it.
But yeah, it was
good.
That was pretty close at the end. But yeah, lots of good things in this game, gentlemen. Like I said, I like the setup down here. He never moved. He actually was never. Although John didn't think that he really did anything, pretty much he secures the building. I mean, if anything else, he just secures the building, and it has a potential jumping off at these 2 buildings. I actually didn't think that you would be moving on these because these would be closer, just like I pointed out right in the beginning. But the 338 is huge. I love this. Love this maneuver here that takes advantage of your weak units and actually gives them something to do, which caused a world of hurt for this guy here and took the 75 out. Even though you guys messed up the route, don't really care about that. It took the 75 out, and that's what his job was. He did what his job was to do. Yeah. This stuff right here just adds more flavor to the game. Don't let that deter it from the game because it's always fun to have a 228 kill things in close combat. So the 20L gun here, good shots. He put up the best he could. Unfortunately, he rolled a 12, and he just kind of vaporized. Unfortunately, I think it would have been really nice that if he was still alive, it would have been really close. So, but anyway, really enjoyed watching this game with you guys as some of the other games. So, very, very impressive in this particular type of game here.
Yeah, thank you.
So,
enjoyed it.
Yeah,
appreciate the reviews.
Yeah,
Stu, really do.
It's really good, and like I said, I really liked the because I think everybody else chooses this hex. Maybe there's one other game that chose the bottom. I was excited to see someone choose the bottom because everybody else I think I've seen had chose the middle. And this adds a different tactical perspective of what the Free French need to do, and John protected it rather well. Obviously he could route back, right? You could even route off the hill and get back up on it. Up here, if you've got Germans on top and bottom, this becomes a tenuous situation. If the Germans get lucky, you get a 75 that blows something away, like we had in this game. Or the Germans counterattack the center building, like we had in that first game, and he just got unlucky. In his situation, but that's just the way the game goes. If he had secured that building, that's huge. And I don't see the Germans really counterattacking and taking this building. This is a really hard position to take, to be honest with you, in all the games. This seemed to be like the toughest fight out of all the games. These guys will break. Maybe this guy might be a close game, but that's just this is just a hard spot to do. There's really no cover around that entire spot, and So it's pretty rough, and it's hard to get up there too. You're spending 5 movement factors. Everybody's CXing. You need leaders to get the hell up here, and guess what? All those are point blank shots. You know, if you go into P1, right, and you got a stack over here, not a point blank shot. He breaks, he can just, you know, route back. These are all point blank shots, and it's hard. It's a hard spot to do. So, like I say, I was glad there's some variety on those particular things. Any other questions on the game? We have other games to go over, but we're gonna have to save them for next time. It's 7:30 already, I do want to go over those other games because there's some really good stuff that's in those games as well. So, does anyone have any question on these particular games, or like since Tony's here, if Tony had a question in his game or something like that, that we could pop up and really check things out. So, again, I like what I'm seeing in the games. I really do. I was watching a couple other replays online today when I'm driving around doing my stuff, and the flanking stuff works. You know, it just does. Remember our discussion last week, my ad nauseum discussion on that 447, trying to get behind your guys and make it a bad day in that fantasy world of mine when we had that King Tiger destroyed. A little flank it just really comes back, just like the 228 here, right? This guy came back to actually have an impact in the game. I mean, the little things that matter, not the 9-2 that's just breaking a couple of guys here. This is part of the game. This is the next step here is okay, I've got a 338. Most guys would just say, okay, I'm just gonna, you know, we're just gonna go up here, we're just gonna fire 6+3 all day. Well, you know, why? Throw him around back. He's not a huge threat. Is he gonna be drawing tons of fire? Probably not. Your 458 and your 9-1 with 2 squads probably gonna draw the fire. This guy's gonna move fairly freely. I really love the move from Steve firing over here with his infantry firepower. Really love that. He's heads up on that. That's honestly, it's a heads up. Most guys, a lot of guys would just swivel the gun and fire because they just kind of forget their infantry. But here, you kept your covered arc over this direction, so you have to swivel it back. And then, you know, 2-2, that's nothing to spit at. That could have worked out really well in your favor. And that's just a heads up, realizing what you have, you know, realizing what you have in your troop that you can fire there. So this is a really good fight. This is a really good grasp of the rules and grasp of what the capabilities are for your units. This impressed me the most in this entire game. And of course the 20L swivel down here and just, you know, kind of the resilience of the 20L, even though he had nobody around him. This is what I'm kind of looking for. This is what sets you guys apart from a lot of other players, is making these little game within the game moves, you know, or shots, you know, moves, things like that. And again, the 4-5-8-2, the flankers right here, you know, because he's going to be catching the heat. The plot's going to be catching the heat here. And he got blasted, so he had a rout. Guess what? No threat. He could be broken. No threat at all to that building because we got these guys covering it. And they're in a dual position. They could actually move to these locations and threaten these if they simply, you know, do something like that. If he comes back, they could then be a jumping off point. So they serve a dual purpose, and that helped out a lot right down there, you know. So that was shored up. That was not going to get lost. And the Germans couldn't leave, right? You have 4 units. The Germans really can't leave here. You pin them down. So which allows your other units to do what they need to do. And if it cracks open like it did, you know, that Snake Eyes on P2 was huge. Although you got whacked on the backside. I think both of you rebounded quite well and not losing your calm in this game. I mean, the game wasn't over. So, you know, turn the AA gun, just taking care of the threats possible and just trying to do your best. And you know the route of the 9-1, that's just something that you just got to look at later on. A lot of people just want to avoid the residual, and again, that's the strength of laying residual firepower. If that residual firepower wasn't placed there, where would he have gone? He probably would have gone right down the road.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
He probably would. Even a 1 residual is enough to scare some people away. even a 1 residual firepower. So please don't. You guys are doing a really good job remembering your residual firepower. I don't think I've had to mention it for shit like months now. I just haven't. I just haven't seen where it actually mattered. You know, like if it's the last unit to move, you don't need to actually place residual, but place your firepower. That changed this guy's course. You know, you make just a slight change of plan. That's what it's there for. That's what it's there for. It's to make him choose a different path. Sometimes the path could be take more MF, and he might not be able to get there. You know, but 2, 3, 4, yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, again, and we haven't gotten to the other games, but they're all pretty good. They're pretty impressive, and I really like what I'm seeing in terms of you guys just gaming it on. You know what I'm saying? You guys are getting the game on. And I'm looking at some ASL replays, and I gotta be honest, not too impressed with some ASL replays. You know, not necessarily like in the ones coming up or anything like that, but just watching other games and things like that. And obviously, there's more rules to forget, but I'm not looking at the +1 going up a hill, ground snow, low visibility, all that bullshit rules. I'm just simply looking at route paths, and I'm looking at the only thing I'm looking at those other games, because I want to compare those games to your guys' games, right? So me looking at bypass movement and all that other bullshit ASL rules, right? I'm not looking at any of that. I'm looking at their route paths and comparing their routing with your routing, and then I'm looking at order of movement. Are they moving the guys in a safe manner in order to move the other units right behind him so they can get something done? Just like Craig did in the last game when he moved that guy to Q6, right? He essentially paralyzed this unit from firing on Q5. That's what I'm looking for. And that happens in all games. This move wins games. A move like this wins games. 338 coming the backside wins games. That shit wins games. If you move if you move your 9-2 up here first, and you take that 2-2 residual or secondary fire, 1-2, whatever the hell it might be, and he rolls that snake eyes, these guys vaporize. Was that necessary? No, 100% preventable. That's what I'm looking for. I don't care about the rules being used in the other game. This movement, order of movement, and route paths, and jumping out, we're going to cover some more routes later on. There's some issues in some routes in other games. But just in terms of, like we were talking about N5, any of these jumping off points, if the Germans are in this area, these are extremely dangerous locations, especially if there are Germans on your flanks. Because there might be a location that might be closer, and there's actually one in another game where the guy routed backwards, and to be honest with you, Germans were right here where the medium is. He was broken here, and nobody else was in LOS. M5 was his destination, and then he screwed. He would have routed to M5 versus going back up the hill, because this is 2, this is 5. But because he's leader there, again, I don't want to see blinders on. I don't want to see blinders on your leaders. Oh, I see my leader, boom, I'm going right to him. And especially if your enemy is routing, when you see the enemy route, act like it's your unit. Therefore, essentially, both of you are routing that unit to make sure both of you are routing properly. Because this little stuff like here, him going here and rallying versus him going here and dying, wins and loses games. Right? I mean, look like I said, I don't blame you guys for missing the I-5. That's an easy one to do because the ranges and the guys are way back here. That's easy to do. But if you're up close and personal, right? This guy actually came back and killed a unit. It didn't make a difference in the game, but it could have. It very well could have. So, again, there's not going to be a perfect game of ASL. Doesn't matter. But just when guys are routing, act like it's your guy and don't just leave it to him. Because when I see a guy here and I see this, and you guys should see this too, is like, okay, that's 4MF. What else is in 4MF? 1, 2, 3. If this guy wasn't there. So if nobody's in LOS to this unit, right? he's going to M5 or M4, or let's say there's a bad guy over here, and he can ignore M5. Then he goes to M4 instead of up the hill, because that's 3.
I thought we had decided if you low crawl, you can go wherever you want. Is that not the case here?
You still have to go the direction of your destination. Because his destination is let's say his destination, let's say it's like right here, right? You know, he can ignore them. He can ignore them both. So there has to be a destination. The closest in cover will be M5. He can ignore that. So the next closest in cover would be L5 or M4, right? Well, he can ignore L5. M4 would then be the closest cover. He could low crawl to M5 on his way to M4, or he could low crawl to N4 on their way to M4. Otherwise, theoretically, if there's no restriction, then you just low crawl towards the guy, which would be a rule violation. But again, you still have to choose. You have to choose the closest cover, and then your low crawl has to be in the direction of the closest cover. Because I mean, think about it. I mean, the guys would be crawling up the hill for 5 movement factors, where they'll be in cover much sooner over here. You know, like if it's like a steep cliff or mud's going up there, your guy's going to seek cover in their nearest building, and they're not going to bother climbing up a hill when they're going to get shot in the back. Especially if they've already taken fire. They don't know if the enemy's got LOS to these particular locations or not. So it's got to be that. But as long as you're low crawling in that particular direction, that's fine. You know, I like that one example that we had. I don't know if that's sure if that was your game, where the guy was down here, right? And this was the situation, right? The Germans are all here. This guy has to route. Where's his destination? Well, he can ignore this, and that's 3 over here. So he can either go here or here. He can't go to 09. But remember that. I don't know if you guys remember that example. He had the leader in 09, right? Can't route to the leader. But because he'd have to route to N9, 1, 2, 3, but he can low crawl to the leader because that's on the way to N9. That is to the direction of N9. So he could low crawl there and cheat it. You know what I'm saying? The destination is 09. He's low crawling to that direction, and he happened to be. You know, you don't have to go to the open ground. You could choose either one. Low crawl is 1 hex, and therefore he just jumps uphill. So he kind of. That's not his destination, but that's where he ended up. So that was a really interesting and unique situation. I'm not sure who did that, but I'm sure I know it was one of you guys. I'm pretty sure. But anyway, regardless, that's a smart way of. This is when you're thinking about routing, instead of just routing kind of blindly. You know, so that's a smart way of thinking. I'll low crawl because I can get there. If I do not low crawl, I can't get to the leader. He has to go here if he doesn't low crawl. So
I remember that one. I think that was one of Craig Rainier's low crawls that he did. You know, at 88's at Zon.
Yeah, I seem to recall that as well. And this is thinking about your routing right here. This is 100% thinking about your routing, and not just blindly kind of moving in one direction or not. This is a thought out low crawl instead of like I'm just going to move to the nearest unit. You know, because we discussed that. I think Craig was here when we discussed that. And but yeah, things like that make a difference. They make a difference in the game because, you know, 8 mile unit, 9-1 leader. This guy's coming back pretty damn quick. Pretty quick. That's a 6 in the enemy's movement and the enemy's turn. Let's see. Boom. Give me a 6. Nope. 10. There's your 4. Next turn he's up. Next 4 he needs a 10. It's a 6, then a 10. So he's up, and that's impressive to do. 9 minus 2 makes it a 7. So it's pretty crazy. But usually your 9 minus 2s aren't the guys rallying. But again, gentlemen, when any time I don't know, I don't want you to say, well, ASL players got a lot of other rules to worry about. I'm not worried about that one. It's the basic stuff. It's the basic stuff. Is the order of movement? It's the same concept. It's actually even more important in ASL. Because you're dealing with a lot of other rules of fire lanes and things like that. You might want to bait out more stuff, more the chrome that's in ASL. So therefore, you would think that the order of more movement in a lot of your ASL games would be more to the forefront of the gameplay. Because it's even more important to draw up sort of these extra rules that you guys don't have in SK. So it's even more important to think of those things. And when I see you guys doing stuff like this, it's just, I mean, it's crazy. The pride that I have for you guys in your games looks pretty solid. It looks pretty solid. Again, we're all going to have mistakes in our games. I don't really care about the mistakes. I've missed route here and there, but I only see like one missed route, maybe in a game. And this is a crazy board. I gotta be honest with you. And I'm not, this is a really tough board to route on. You guys have played on it already. Like when you jump into the roadway right here, it might not be obvious where you're going to route to, but it's tricky. It's very dangerous to just jump out in certain other areas. And you'll see some of those examples next week when because there'll be a couple routing miscues that we can go over there, and that's where we have to really add the movement factors up, because it gets really crazy, because there's a lot of Germans in the middle shooting and shit like that, and the British are jumping over here, the French are jumping out just like you guys did, but there's more guys that are on the map, which causes screwy things to happen. And it could get really crazy really quickly. But again, I think this map is very difficult to route on, simply because once you come off the hill, you're pretty much not going back on it. You're not going back up the hill to your destination to route and run away. You're pretty much stuck in the valley or the ground level, and and that could get you in a lot of trouble. And again, we'll cover some of those examples next time. But I got to leave you at that, guys. I actually have to go out. I have to go back to work now. Unfortunately, but again, I really like this game. This is a really tough on both sides. Everybody seemed like they were just battling from turn one on. Whether you had good dice rolls, bad dice rolls, or indifferent, and different strategies used in different games, again, that we'll cover. Lots of good stuff, lots of good fighting going on. This is a hard, solid fight and just tearing out and trying to take objectives without smoke. So you see how difficult it is to do without smoke. Now, all you have to do is play 3 turns and then just add smoke to it, and this is a rout for the Free French. That's how important smoke is. Thanks, babe. I'm bending up. Thank you. But so again, if you look at this scenario and say, okay, how can I get across the roads? Smoking here, smoking here, smoking here. You just smoke. You hop, skip, and jump by smoking to the next objective, and it's a free fall for the Germans at that point. So by not having the smoke, makes this a good, hard, fought out fight.
Yep.
And I really love the choice, and I'm glad you guys made different choices on your positioning of your 9-2. I really wanted to see that variation, and it's huge. It's huge in how the game plays out. So thank you, gentlemen. Again, I appreciate you, and I take pride in your guys' accomplishments and just what you're doing. It's really looking good. Some of it's clicking really good with you guys. Some of the other guys are coming on really hard and fast, but that's fine. Nothing's wrong with that. That's all we're here is we're just here to discuss the game, discuss different avenues, making sure we're doing things kind of right, mostly right, but thinking about the game, again, order of movement, routing, and that's huge. All right, thank you so much, gentlemen. I appreciate you. And join us next time, and we've got some more games together. There might be actually some other stragglers coming in too. So I want to make sure to start early so we can get all the games in. I want to get everyone's game in and not really short them on it.